Hello. In this presentation, I'm going to show you briefly how to create an entity relationship diagram in Microsoft Visio Professional 2013. First, under the File menu, I will select New, and then under the search box on the New dialog here, I'm going to click on Database. And for our classes, we're going to use crowsfoot database notation, so I'll select that option. Leave it at US units and then click the Create button. So once your diagram page loads, you'll see that this center area is the size of a regular piece of printed paper, 8.5 by 11. Over on the left-hand side, you have the different shapes that you can add to the diagram, and then you have some standard tools up on the top. Usually what I need to do is zoom in further, and you can do that down in the left-hand corner, or you can go up to the View menu and choose different options there. So now to add entities, I'm going to go over to the right or to the left-hand side and under Shape select Entity and click and drag that onto my piece of paper here. And then to change the entity names and attributes, all you have to do is double-click on each of them. So I'm going to create one for customer and create one for order and show you an example of a one-to-many relationship. So I'll just double-click the entity name here to create the customer entity. And down here I'll double click the attribute name to create a customer ID. And then I will come down and add a few more fields. So customer first name, customer last name. And you'll see if I want to add more information like street address and contact information like a phone number, then I need to add more attributes to the table. In order to do that, you can either go back to your shapes and select attribute and then just drag and drop it in here. You'll see when the orange line shows up, it gives an idea of where it's going to go, and you can add it there. Or I can right click on an attribute and you'll see there's options for insert attribute before and insert attribute after. The key to getting those options, however, is that you see that there's this gray box surrounding the attribute. That's how you know the attribute is selected. If the gray box isn't there, then you're going to get a different context menu here when you right click, and it won't have the insert attribute before and after options. Best practice is just to click right on top of the name in order to get the attribute selected. So I'll just add or just change this to indicate that it's the customer phone number, and then add my entity for order as well. And you can see I've put a couple fields in there, and now it's time to create the relationship between the customer and the order entities and to establish the foreign keys. So a customer could place many orders, and each order is placed by one customer. So that means that we should take the primary key from the one side of the relationship, the customer table, and place it as a foreign key on the many side of the relationship, or the order entity. So I will add another attribute over in the order entity, and I'm just going to right click this and select insert attribute after. And this is going to be the customer ID field. So once I have that added, I can then right click and I can select the option at the top where it says set foreign key, and that now adds a box FK for foreign key right here. If you want to, you can reorder the items in your list of attributes there to have the foreign keys up at the top. If you were going to have multiple fields as a primary key or a different field than what's listed by default, you'll notice that when you are right clicking, there's also the option to set it as a primary key there and to set it as a required field, which we'll talk about later in the semester. So let me get the line for the relationship, and here's the relationship line, and I'll just drag it over to the middle here and scroll down a bit. So if I deselect it, you can see one end has the crow's foot side with the 3 lines, and then the other end just has the straight line there. And you want to take the ends of the lines and connect them up to the appropriate entity. So this endpoint should go to customer because it's the one side of the relationship. And you'll notice that as soon as you start to move it over there, you'll get different kinds of options. With the green highlight, you want to make sure that you either glue it to the shape where the green box is outlining the entire entity, or you glue it to this connection point. And you can see there's different connection points for the attribute and for the table or the entity itself. So if you're going to do a connection point, you want to make sure it's the green box that's half in the gray and half in the white. Like so. And then I can take the many endpoint and I can drag and drop that on the order table, like so. And there you have your relationship, and because they're glued together, no matter where you move the tables or the entity boxes on the page, the line will continue to move with them. Now if you connect them in the wrong direction or you need to change it, you can right click on that relationship line and you'll see there's a set beginning symbol and a set ending symbol, and so you can change those options right there to flip it going the other way, and also to change it from mandatory to optional as far as 0 or 1. If you want to change the size of the endpoints so that they're a little bit easier to see, you can click on this arrow right here under Shape Styles, like this, and it'll pull up the Format Shape box. And if we go down to Line, you can see that there are beginning arrow size and ending arrow size options, and so you could switch them from medium to large or extra large, depending on how large it is you want to be able to see those on your diagram. So there you have it. Those are the basics of creating a diagram in Microsoft Visio for a conceptual model for our database classes. Once you're done, you should save it. If you need to save it as a PDF file, you can go up to the File menu again and select Export. And once you select the export option, you should see Create PDF XPS Document. So that'll allow you to create a PDF file if you need to share it with other people who maybe don't have Visio.